Okay, we are clear. Ready to go live in 5, 4. Cue the talent. 3. Hey, I said cue the talent. 2 and 1. Attention hobbyists, sports fans, and collectors nationwide and abroad. It's time to get hype. Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on! About the hobby we are all a part of. Live from the Mojobreak studios, it's Dan and Doug. Check it out. Come on! So, get hype. Be hype. This is The Hype.
What is going down, everybody? It's Doug with Mojobreak.com. We're here for another episode of Mojobreak.com's The Hype. We have Mojo Sessions number 8, and we're excited to have Karvin Cheung on the show. He is one of the greatest innovators in this hobby, one of the most influential people, and we're going to talk about stories about Exquisite. We're going to talk about Immaculate, and it's going to be a great show, learning the history of the process of some of these cards. What's up, Karvin? How you doing?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for having me on The Hype. It's a great time to be here.
Definitely. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while, so we're glad that we can kind of take a history lesson. So we're going to do this in chapters. We're going to start with chapter 1, and it's going to be your time at Upper Deck. So let's talk about when you started at Upper Deck and how you got the job at Upper Deck.
Well, it goes all the way back, and it's funny when you talk about trading cards. Obviously, as a kid growing up, I was heavily into trading cards and hockey trading cards because I'm originally from Toronto. By the time I got to like 12 or 13, it wasn't cool to be collecting trading cards. So I got out of it, and I actually have a sister that collected cards, and I kind of collected through her. But all that time, I avoided collecting cards by the time I was in grade 8 all the way till university. And I got into comic books instead, believe it or not. And comic books was kind of cool at that time, collecting X-Men and all the Marvel comics. Afterwards, in 1989, I saw this trading card called Upper Deck, and it was double-sided photo, hologram, the greatest and latest in technology. And I got back into trading cards, and I got into collecting, and then all of a sudden I just started dealing with it. I had to, set up in shows, flea markets, and then eventually had a store. From that point on, went on to working for a distributor in Canada called Grosvenor from 99 2000. And at that point, got the opportunity to go to the NHL All-Star Game in Toronto in 2000, met a bunch of Upper Deck people, had distributor meetings, and all this whole time, even though Canada is all about hockey, I was heavily into basketball. Basketball was my passion. Maybe it's the Asian genetics in me, or maybe it's because I'm a Lakers fan back in the 80s. Yeah. I love watching Showtime. So I hated the Celtics, just to be honest. I'm sorry for anybody who likes the Celtics, especially with those green Converse shoes that Larry Bird and Robert Parish used to wear. Right. But anyways, going back to watching, Magic and all that, and back then sports was not even a big deal. I couldn't even watch first game of the NBA Finals. I had to listen to it on the radio. It was an odd time. Only in the weekends you got to watch basketball, and same as baseball in many cases. But at that time, I got to meet Upper Deck, provide some feedback, and when I left, had mutual parting with Grosvenor, Upper Deck called and said, "Hey, we're interested in probably interviewing you and look at some opportunities, and there may be some openings." And this is in 2001, and eventually, I had other opportunities, and I hate to say it, I gave up a lot of money just to go work for Upper Deck, just because number one, being a Dodgers fan, Lakers fan back in the late 70s, early 80s. Obviously, I'm a Toronto fan now, but back then there was no Blue Jays back in the early 70s, and there was no Raptors.
So were they in Carlsbad at the time as well?
Oh, they were in Carlsbad, yeah. Upper Deck was already in Carlsbad, yeah. So, but I since I was about 9 or 10, California was, Disneyland, and man, I'd love to be living in California. You know how grass is always greener on the other side, and being a kid, you're like, oh, if I can go to California. And then when the opportunity came, I had to take a big pay cut to go down to work for Upper Deck. But I was like, you know what? If I don't do this now, move out of California, I may regret not doing it in later on in my life. Even though if I'm successful or not, I may regret not doing it. So I said, you know what, to prevent that from happening, I'm just going to go down and test it out. And I always wanted to, I always grew up kind of like the husky kid. I played some sports, but I wasn't that good. And, obviously I'm not tall enough or not strong enough to be playing, to be good in sports. So, I was like, well, what's the next big thing? Next best thing is actually creating trading cards. Actually would be a great idea. So I gave it a shot back in 2001. That's when I moved down to Carlsbad area. And I moved down in June of 2001. That's when I started. As soon as I got there.
Did you start working with basketball right away? And who was the rookies back then?
Okay, so 2001, it was interesting because I had a shop and all that, and I was selling basketball. So the last final product that I really had, and I had customers for, was called Ultimate back then. It was called Ultimate, and it was all graded cards by SGC. And the rookies in that set, let me see here, I believe was Darius Miles, Kenyon Martin, I believe was that year. Yeah, it is that year. It was Kenyon Martin, Darius Miles, DeMar Johnson. It was not a good rookie year.
So and that was ultimate. That was an Ultimate Collection. Then that was something else, right? At the time.
That was Ultimate Collection, and then there is still Ultimate Collection today. So that was the first Ultimate Collection before even Leaf Ultimate Collection or in the game Ultimate Collection. That was the first one. It was called Ultimate.
Gotcha.
And so I went down in June, and immediately they knew that I had an interest in basketball. So I was going to handle two sports, basketball and hockey. And later on, things changed, and obviously I was only handling basketball for a while, and then I was handling back on hockey and basketball. We can talk about the timelines later, but
sure.
For 2001, 2002, I handled both hockey and basketball. So, we can talk about first products, some ideas.
I think we're going to jump right into the Exquisite because I think that's where I'm most intrigued, and I've been waiting to talk to you so long about this. I think I'm like a kid, and it's Christmas. I want to open the wrapping paper. So, in 03-04 with Exquisite, was that the highest end product of all time?
It was. Back in the day, the highest end basketball product was called Ultimate, and that was $100 a pack. SRP. We're talking about SRP. So sure. Obviously the distributor cost and the wholesale cost of stores is a little bit different. Okay. It was $100 for Ultimate. Outside of that, I believe there was another pack of cards. It was called SP Game Patch by Baseball, done in baseball at $200 a pack. So when we went to do now, however, there were products that was called the Master Collection, which I actually own one of the Jordan Master Collections. I believe it's numbers. Is it 6?
That's more like a full set, more kind of similar.
So that was a 23 card set of Michael Jordan cards outlining his career up to the final shot against Utah, not with part of the Wizards.
So that came out. That came out before 03-04 because I remember them releasing some after, more closer to 2010, right? They released another one which was all North Carolina, I believe, at the time.
Yeah, that was like 2012 or 2013. They came one like 17,000. Not 17,000. I think it was like 10,000. This one was 5,000 SRP US. It was a set of 23 cards. It was one jersey card, one autograph card, and then a pack, just a random pack that could have anything. So I still have the pack sealed. Wow. All 23 cards. I just looked at it, and I have a Jordan autograph, which is the slam dunk card, which is probably the best one. And then I have a black jersey swatch with a pinstripe in it, the red stripe in it. And that's what I have for my set. But I mean, at that time, after when that came out, obviously the cards went for a lot less. It's only until today that Michael Jordan cards have skyrocketed again in the last 3 or 4 years. And then after Jordan, they came out with a Joe Montana, a Muhammad Ali. I believe there's a Lakers set, NBA Masters, Yankees set. I believe an NBA Legends set. Those were the ones that were out there. And then afterwards, I believe there was a Gretzky around 2001, probably around 2001. I think it was right before I joined Upper Deck, or is it right after I joined Upper Deck? I can't figure out the timeline, but I know that I somewhat worked on that one a little bit, the Master Collection for Gretzky. And that one was a little bit lesser price point, just because hockey cards don't go as much as basketball cards or baseball cards or football cards. And how much the exchange factor?
How much do you think that first Jordan collection's worth at this point? If somebody had the whole, sealed box like yourself?
Um, I would say I believe the slam dunk contest card, the autograph card, which is out of 50, is going for about 10, anywhere from 10 to 12,000.
Nice.
Now I don't know if that's PSA graded 10 or not.
Sure.
And I'm sure the whole set, I would guess probably close to 15,000 if you have that autograph card. Because the one thing is that the box never came sealed, and the box is unique in itself. It's all handcrafted. I believe the box itself, when I was talking to some of the designers, was in excess of over $500 to create the box. So
wow.
It has a Jordan, Michael Jordan, etched into the wood, and it has a picture of Jordan dunking. I believe on not the Jumpman logo, because that has copyright issues with Nike, I'm sure. And it has a tray inside for the first two cards, and then underneath it has a certificate. And of course, the 23 cards are all matching numbers, so it's just kind of nice. Yeah,
that's
so
it
is a sought after set, but a lot of the sets that came afterwards, they were not sought after. Like the Aldi set wasn't, the Montana wasn't. I don't believe even the Lakers set was that sought after. The Yankee one was, because it came with a cut of, I believe it was one of the Yankees, and it had multiple autographs of starting Yankees in there. So that one was sought after.
And just to remind some of the listeners, so the first year the Exquisite was made was 2003, 2004. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And if you guys are like, maybe some of you guys don't collect basketball out there listening to this podcast. If you see recent sales of this 0304 Exquisite stuff, I think there's one up there right now at one of the auctions for the LeBron number 23 out of here that they're saying is going to go over $1 million by the time it ends. And I believe it's at one of the bigger auction houses. I don't remember which one it's at, but it's currently, I think it's running as we speak, but it's gotten some press on ESPN for it's, going to be the highest sold modern card of all time at this point. It's going to break the record of the Trout from Vegas Dave. So we'll get right into Exquisite. So when that came out, did you guys have discussions about SRP? Was there some people that wanted to go higher? Was there some people that wanted to go lower? Was there people that were like, you guys are just out of your mind?
Well, first, my first ever take on Exquisite. Number one, it wasn't called Exquisite. Number two, the SRP was actually, I wanted to do closer to 2,500 to 3,000 SRP. And
for a case, right?
For a box. Just
for a box. Okay.
Because I'm looking at Master Collection. It was 5,000. I wanted to go higher. However, the caveat, and you have to remember, back in those days, we talked about, if you have game used jerseys, why not include the whole game used jersey, right? So we were talking about, what we can do to enhance the value to get to $2,500 to $3,000 SRP. And what I came up with was basically, let's throw in a game used jersey or a nice UDA piece that's exclusive to Exquisite that you can only get that way. And
so one of those in each case, basically.
In each box, yeah. Just in the box, yeah. However, it just couldn't work because even at that time in 2003, how many Michael Jordan game used jerseys can you find? And you would have to take away Michael Jordan jerseys from a lot of products. So let's say even if we could buy 5 Michael Jordan jerseys, they were probably looking at 20,000 pieces. That's $100,000 on Michael Jordan jerseys. And we would also have to buy at least probably 2 or 3 per year for the products following. So
sure,
we're just depleting the inventory of Michael Jordan game used jerseys. So it was just, and when we thought about that, and of course, you can't just put a guy like DeMar Johnson or Darius Miles, who's now value plummeted in 0304. So and also there's also the fact that maybe we can throw in a game photo shoot jersey, but what half the hobby stands on photo shoot jerseys is, so it's kind of tough to just throw in a LeBron photo shoot jersey, and people are like, well, that's not worth $2,000, right? So at that point we changed it around. The name was changed later on because after a sales meeting we had to change the name, and then I actually came up with an idea of including a crystallized card. Now, back in 2003, we recall some of the crystals. There was a whole picture of you and your family on a crystal, right?
Yep.
It was like that. It was called like a fractured crystal. They would take the picture and they fracture the crystals inside, and
similar to what
Panini's
putting out now, which I believe came around the Kyrie Irving rookie year, right? 12-13, the glass card.
No, I think that was the glass card was an asset. I'm sorry, it was was a plexiglass card. This is not a plexiglass
okay.
card. It was an actual crystallized card.
Oh,
So we actually
okay.
had samples. Actually had samples. I don't even know. I believe I had one of the samples. It was a Tiger Woods card and a Jordan card. I think I had the Tiger Woods card, where it was a picture of Tiger Woods and his autograph that was, and inside the crystal. So it's still crystal. It's glass. It'll break.
Wow.
And we're looking at doing that as one per box as the chase. We presented to, I believe, the distributors, and they're kind of like, we don't like this. I'm like, I was kind of pissed off. I was like, no, this is something that's unique, right? I want to bring this to the marketplace, and of course, I got beat up on it. I said, okay, fine, I'll just go back to adding another jersey and an autograph, right, just to enhance it, right, just to swap out for the crystal card, right? And then the crystal card was costing a ton of money, anyways, so
right.
it was an easy swap out for me.
And it could have been, in the box. Who knows if it's going to last? And you're going to have to replace it. Right.
It could break inside the Exquisite box, right? We don't know that. So that was one of the things that we had, and the whole RPA process was kind of interesting because I don't know if you know this. Do you remember which product had the first rookie patch autograph?
I heard the first jersey card was a 98, but I don't know about the rookie patch auto.
Right. So the first ever rookie patch auto that I recall, anyways, and maybe a competitor had it. I don't recall a competitor have it, but I know it was in discussion when 2001 SPA football was announced, and I was in those meetings for football in 2001 because I joined Upper Deck right after the photo shoot that, obviously it was a big class with Michael Vick and Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson. So there was 3 autograph cards, 3 autograph rookie patches only in 2001 SBA football. I won't name them. Maybe you can use that as a trivia question in the future.
There you go. I like it.
So there was patch rookies, and then there was auto rookies, and then there was autograph patch rookies. But that was the first ever set that had it. Because I remember in the meeting, they're like, SPA doesn't do so well now in football. We got to change it up. Obviously, from 98, 99 did really well in the beginning, and then it dropped off because, McNabb, those guys, only McNabb did well, the top 5 quarterbacks drafted in that year. 2000 was a complete bust in terms of the football draft. So 2001, they wanted to reinvigorate the brand, and they came up with SPA rookie.
Well, Brady was in 2000, but since he was drafted so late, he wasn't really in product.
Right. It wasn't a big deal, back then, And Upper Deck never even had him in an autograph deal. He was only in the SPA as a rookie at number 2000.
Right.
The only autograph rookie that I know is in the Contenders. So, but outside of that, so obviously when it came down to 2001 and 2002, I got so much pressure when SPA football did well. Why aren't you doing this in basketball? Why aren't you doing this in basketball? Right. So I got so much pressure. I'm like, we're not going to do it for basketball. I go, are our sales and SPA basketball needing it? And they're like, no, our SPA basketball is still okay. We can still sell it. It's like, if we don't need it, let's not change it. And you have to remember, I'm the new guy here, and I'm dealing with all these veterans. Like, we're talking about sales guys that have been in the business for 15 years at Upper Deck. And already I'm getting a bad rap against me, right? And I had a good team. In fact, some of my colleagues work for GTS. Another one of my colleagues now works at a different company, but he came back to work for Upper Deck, and they were always supportive of me. They're like, look, I think Karvin knows what he's doing. He has a plan. Maybe he's Canadian, doesn't know that much about basketball. I mean, you may not think he knows a lot about basketball, but he knows the market. He knows the singles market and, how to drive the business. And you got to give him a couple of years to try his trade to get it going, right? Because in 2001, 2002 was one of the most horrific drafts. I don't know if you recall. So even if we did SPA with patches, it might have bombed because that was known as the 5 freshmen, the 5 high schooler draft. So if you recall, I mean, Elton Brand was the number 1 pick, but it was like guys like Eddie Curry, Tyson Chandler. That was another high school kid. Or actually, no, Elton Brown was the number 2 pick. Number 1 pick was a pick by Michael Jordan in Washington, Kwame Brown. So Kwame Brown was the big seller at that time. And I was really concerned. I was like, oh, man, I'm moving. Even though Michael Jordan's playing basketball again, I was really concerned with this rookie because I did not like this rookie crop. Diop was one of the guys, Roddy White, one of the guys, Eddie Griffin, died 10 years later, getting hit by a train
Jeez.
on a track. So I won't say what he was doing on the track. Supposedly what he was doing inside the
Dang.
car. But anyways, there's all kinds of stuff that's in that draft that you're like, oh my God, this is one of the worst drafts of all time.
But you had the Wizards Jordan to save the products, right? I guess
the Wizards Jordan, if he was coming back, it was when I joined Upper Deck. It was like, oh man, look what's happening. Tiger Woods. We just announced Tiger Woods had the contract with Upper Deck, and he won his 4th major. Michael Jordan's coming back as Wizards. Everyone's like, man, you joined at the best time for sports cards. It's going to be a resurgence and all that. And then of course we know what happened in 2001 that completely derailed the sports card business, right?
Right. Yep.
So when that happened, SP Legendary Cuts was supposed to be released right around 9/11, and it got delayed for a couple months and bombed. I mean, it didn't bomb; it still did well. But look at it now. I mean, the cuts that was in that set was tremendous. There was just amazing cuts. I mean, we're talking about 300 DiMaggio cuts, I believe.
I was gonna say, wasn't that the one that has multiple, instead of you see one of these guys now, you see 200 of them in that set?
Yeah, it was overkill. It was overkill at the time. I mean, I think it was done just too much. It was just number too high for all the hard to find cuts. But now try to find them. You can't find them anywhere. They're all in different collections now. So,
sure.
But mind you, I didn't work on baseball at all. So I only worked on. There's one person that worked on football and baseball, and then I worked on basketball and hockey. So I had to keep my mouth kind of quiet at times. I gotta find my battles because I was like, you're not supposed to know baseball. So
right, I'm sure everybody has their babies, right, and they're working on it. And the last thing they want to do is some guy say, "Hey, I don't like that." It's like, well, I've been working on this for months, right? So
right, and especially coming from Canada, and how you know baseball, right? That type of thing. The Blue Jays maybe.
Yeah. So, well, the Expos might have been. No, they were gone. Were they gone by then?
Yeah, they were gone by then. They're gone about 98 or something. I think.
That's
around
right.
then. Yeah. So it was a great time to come in 2001. Finally moving to California. The first ever set that I did in hockey, I did one called SB Game Use. Was the first set I ever built, and then on basketball, my first set that came to for sales was called Sweet Shot. Basically, similar to Sweet Spot, and we had that dimpled paper. The orange paper looks like a basketball, and it came with some ideas that kind of go along with Sweet Shot, like swish and all that. So I did a ball card with a net, mesh of a net in there, and I was like, that I knew that people don't collect ball cards. I knew people don't collect mesh cards. But I figured Sweet Shot, swish, it can be kind of a cool card. And then, but actually, the first ever product that I built that was actually in packs, but not as a box, was actually a product called MJ's Back. So it was a product that had 3 cards in a bonus pack, and some of my original ideas in there was it was the first ever, I believe, the two jersey autograph up to four a quad jersey with an autograph, and the autograph was actually done on what we call a paper grid, and then we encased it onto the card because we didn't have time. So we got the autographs in. They showed it to me. I said, okay, let's do a quad jersey, and at the time, I don't believe we even did quad jerseys back in 2001. And I had to show our designers how to, design around the quad jersey, because they were so used to 1x1 jerseys. Like, well, if it's a 3.5.
So the lower the parallel got, basically it was a four jersey by the time it got to the lower number, or were they not numbered at that point?
No, they were numbered. Yeah, the 4, I believe, was 4 autograph is numbered to 5, I believe, and then
Gotcha.
the single jerseys or dual. I think everything was a dual jersey. So it was a dual jersey. It was out of 100, and a dual jersey auto, I believe, was out of 15. We didn't have a lot of autographs because they actually secured the autographs before I even joined there. So I went into the athletes relations. They showed me this big piece of cardboard with all these Michael Jordan autographs, and I was like, okay, well, and I actually didn't want to call it MJ's Back. The name that I actually wanted to call it was I wanted to call it Air, because I wanted to. Some stupid marketing idea I had was, every box comes with some air. When it was the air would have been the bonus pack. Obviously, MJ as his nickname.
That wouldn't have been good if you that wouldn't be good if you missed a hit, right? Because you'd be like, oh, every pack has air, and be like, yeah, you're missing a card.
Right, exactly.
But I like it. I mean, that does describe Jordan. Though. I'm surprised. Has there been any products with air on there? Maybe subsets, right? But not products.
to be honest, I think the biggest card that there was a insert card back in, I want to say 2001, 2002 by Flair, and they had the nicknames done in foil on the side, and for his card it said Air. I'm not sure if Michael actually likes the nickname Air too much.
Right.
And the thing is that we've asked if he'll sign, do inscriptions, and he said no, he will never do it. He doesn't want to do inscriptions. So that's, I go, what if he just put Air instead of his autograph? He doesn't want to do that either.
Yeah, that's true. I've never seen an autograph of him putting anything other than his autograph. That's a good point. Right. And never seen a 6-time champion or anything like that, right?
No, he won't do it. And he is the GOAT, right? So when it comes to collecting, he is the GOAT. So what are you going to say? You're going to say, well, we're not going to sign a contract unless you do some inscriptions for us?
Well, he may be right. He may be foreshadowing, because maybe, he's like, hey, I have this in the back of my pocket. If things get tough, which they won't for him, but let's just say they do, he can come out with an inscription set and sell those cards for, however much he wants to charge, right? So
yeah, I just don't think he's interested. I mean, right now he's making probably a few $100 million just in shoe sales right now, with how crazy his shoes are, especially the Jordan 1s with all the different color variations.
Right.
I just don't see it. He was, and I believe I know the reason why he even has an autograph contract, and that's more speculatory than anything else. Obviously, I don't think he has that much of an interest in even signing autographs. It is amazing that he's kept his autograph as nice as it has been for over.
What's your theory? Just for the fans, or?
No, I think it's more or less, having a contract out there. Just, number one, it covers, his I guess his brands, right? He's been up with Upper Deck since 96, 97. Mm-hmm. So he's been there for a long time. And when you notice, some of these staple athletes, Michael has not switched companies anywhere. If anything, he's probably dropped off companies. He hasn't switched from Nike to another company.
Right.
He hasn't switched. I believe he is with Wilson now. I don't think he switched with Spalding or anything else. He's always been with Wilson, and when Wilson got out of the basketball business, he just dropped off, right? And he used to be an Oakley guy. Then he was with Gatorade, and he was with McDonald's. He's never switched allegiances. I mean, I believe he's still with. Is he still with Hanes? I think so. Yeah, because Upper Deck did a card from with Hanes. So
they just did. Yeah.
With him forever. Yeah. So he's been with all these companies forever. He hasn't switched, and you can make your own assumptions why he wouldn't switch, and that's what I have. I mean, I have my own thinking why he won't switch, and I'd rather just keep it maybe for another discussion at a time. I gotta be careful, because I don't want people thinking, oh, well, there's Karvin just making assumptions. Well,
right? and I think you're right. He's a man of habit. I mean, you even seen him in the he's still wearing those big jackets. You know what I mean? So he liked them in the 90s. He likes them now. So probably does the same routine he did. He still does it every day probably. So. Well, let's pivot to Exquisite. Now, you mentioned Exquisite wasn't the first name. What were some of the names that when Exquisite was being developed? What were some of the names that were on the drawing board?
Actually, I only had one name, so I'll give you the reasons why. And it's funny because there's a lot of there's every product that I created back in the day with Upper Deck, and even some of them that at Panini. I didn't create so many brands of Panini. It's just that there's always some point of inspiration for me. For me, number one, what was my favorite color is one of the reasons why Exquisite had a different name. Number two, I knew that basketball collectors, there was a lot of Asians that collected basketball, so that was another reason for it. And the color that I'm referring to is black. It was called UD Black for many years, or for leading up to Exquisite. And I had an idea of creating a high-end brand long before LeBron even joined the league. Now, I think it's been discussions even at Upper Deck before I joined Upper Deck of having a high-end brand. But finally, when I saw LeBron was coming into the league, I was like, this is a perfect storm to create a new brand. And, because I was watching people break Ultimate Collection, and I noticed that people didn't care about the base cards, didn't care about numbered cards. I was like, well, what if we just get rid of all the excess and just give people what they want in a box of Ultimate and call it a UD Black? And the reason why I picked UD Black My reasoning for it was, number one, like I said, I'm Chinese. I'm husky, so whenever I wear black, it kind of slims me down. So I wear the color black.
Right.
So
too.
that's one thing. I mean, and then you go to like a Chinese party, like Chinese in terms of like from Canada, right? There's a lot of people that wear black, and I just figured Asians must love the color black. Despite like red is a Chinese color in terms of good luck and all that. Not many people wore red. It's too gaudy. Black, was a color that people like a lot. It seemed like, and then ultimately there was the one reason why I went with black, and what associate with high end with black is that back in the '90s there was the it people, like the people that had money and had a lot of money. The main credit card that everyone had was called the American Express Platinum. If you threw down a platinum, that was like, oh, this guy's
got bucks.
Rich.
Yeah,
this guy's rich, right? So if you threw it down in a nightclub, then everyone would look at you like, oh man, this guy's a baller, right? So but back in '99 or '98, I believe American Express decided to say, hey, all you people that want to be a player, instead of having a platinum card, having to earn it, they would say, hey, for $4,000 you can get a platinum card every year. So all of a sudden the allure of the platinum card was gone, and American Express was like, oh, what do? We just ruined the platinum card. So at that point, they came out with what they call the American Express Black Centurion card. And then when you had a black card now, it was all like titanium. The card was titanium. Number two was all black with the American Express logo. And in order to get it, if you were a CEO of a company, or if you're a billionaire, or I believe you had to spend close to $1 million on the American Express charge card in order to even qualify for it. And it's still like I think it was like $10,000 just to get the card.
I see your reasoning now. You were like, you got to have an American Express black card to be able to afford Exquisite at this point. So that's
kind of just to say that this is the highest end of product. It's called black, right? I can't call it Black Centurion. It's called UD Black. And I actually had ideas. I talked to even some of our marketing guys, and I said, I want to take a full page ad in Beckett. Obviously, there wasn't websites back then for Beckett. It was the Beckett Monthly.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I said, I want to do the first page and just a black page. That's right. Just a complete black page. And then
nice.
And then the second month where it says a black page and just and kind of like a darker black or a lighter black.
It's like coming soon.
It was coming soon, or brought to you by Upper Deck, right? And also at the time when I was looking at black, if you recall, there was a big game show on TV on prime time. It was Who Wants to Be a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? Where Regis was the host. I don't know if you recall that show, the trivia show.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what did Regis always wear? He always wore a black shirt and a black tie, so it was black on black. So he always wore that. So I knew that, man, this is the perfect time for a black color, set coming out.
And I know there was an Upper Deck Black. When did Upper Deck Black first come out for basketball?
So the Upper Deck Black, first, the reason why it got shot down, we had a sales meeting, and I presented this product, and everyone was fine with it. And then finally the head of sales, the VP of sales, so we can't call it UD Black. I said, why not? He goes, because the league we're talking about is
predominant. Yeah.
And I said that, no, I see what you're saying, but that's a far reach, right? I'm looking at black as a color, not as people.
Right.
So I go, I think you're reaching. Now, who knows today how it's going to be perceived, but
really, they still make. There's black chrome now, and there's black Panini black football, and so black gold. So I'm sure it would have worked out.
Yeah. So at that time I said okay, and he was adamant. So I had to go back to the drawing board and then call it Exquisite. I hated the name Exquisite for many years for that reason, because I didn't like Exquisite.
Were you guys going through thesauruses at this point, or
I was?
I was going to say, how do you come up with these names? So you have to kind of go through dictionary.com.
I went through there was an Upper Deck Onyx product. Noir was a name that we were, I was looking at, and I was like, people might not understand Noir is black, right? And black's just the color. So at that point, then I started looking at names to describe like adjectives for jewelry and all that, because this is like a jewelry box, So even the first, my first idea of creating a box wasn't even going to be wood. It was going to be something else. So I wanted to be like a jewelry box. And I was like, okay, Exquisite. As an Exquisite said, let's go with Exquisite. It wasn't a name that I really was fond of. Obviously, I'm fond of it now.
Yeah,
for other reasons. But but at the time, I was so upset that I couldn't call it black. But I always like E as a letter. It's very elegant.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the sets that I designed, I always call for calligraphy. I love calligraphy type.
Nice.
Type. I don't like block letters and all that. So I just like very, if it's going to be a piece of art, I want it to be a piece of art. So UD Black, obviously the head of sales at that time left the company for undisclosed reasons. And at that time, we decided to bring in, the basketball market was collapsing. And I believe this is roughly right before the collapse of the savings and loan market, so around 2007 or so. And we did a redemption card, and we did UD Black as the redemption card. So there was one for Exquisite. I think it was Exquisite for baseball. And then there was one for basketball that was going to be called UD Black. And then UD Black became its own set for, I believe, for 2 years.
Yeah, football.
At that time, basketball was struggling.
Matt Stafford's year, right? Upper Deck Black football at that point was that 2008? I think. Was that the first year for football?
Sure.
It was alone though. I remember pulling him, and I remember pulling like Crabtree, so 2009, I believe too. But it was like pre-rookie premiere because they were in their college uniforms.
Right.
So they used the black. So yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. So back to Exquisite, you talked about like trying to figure out the MSRP. Was that, how they kind of figured out how they were going to build the products too? Like once you figured out was the MSRP the first step, and then you have a budget after that, or was it like okay?
Yes. So I would input in MSRP, then you get your wholesale cost from your MSRP, then you would get you enter how many boxes roughly, what the case run would be, the volume would be, and then you would get then you create your product. So your product, everything's created on a form, unique forms, and it was the first of its kind. So I had a kind of like an open basically book to at least look, okay, what I wanted to bring in here. And this is where I said, okay, I know you guys been asking for an RPA. Here's your RPA. It's going to be this product. It's going to be a $5 pack product. And then I think all the sales guys are like, okay, it makes sense why Karvin held out now, because it's $500 versus a $5 pack, right?
Right.
RPA.
Right.
So, and I mean, Exquisite was a labor of love. I mean, I remember almost everything about Exquisite. There's things that, obviously I get laughed at. Why is there's 2 logo mans and there's no autograph, and it still sells for $900,000 recently, and people are like, well, why don't you have an autograph? And there's reasons why I like autographs, and there's reasons I don't like autographs. One of the reasons, like if you look at cards, I always look at aesthetics, and there are just some guys that just don't have a nice autograph. So I feel that card doesn't even look as nice with an autograph than without an autograph.
You feel like a logo man is a masterpiece, and it doesn't need to be ruined by ink in a sense.
Well, and I mean, we can add ink, and obviously when we built Exquisite, it was a one-time thing. We didn't think it was going to be back in 04, 05 or 05, 06. Obviously it was because it was so successful, but we didn't know that. But had there been, I had to leave something. What else is there that I could do to create that experience? Because you take them away, it's not a LeBron rookie year, it's not a Carmelo, it's not a D Wade, not a Chris Bosh. All these guys are gone from the rookie. And we know that the class in 04, 05 was Dwight Howard, Emeka Okafor. It wasn't a very strong class. So how do you come up with the same product at the same SRP, and people are going to say, "Oh, I like this product now." So you have to always try to hold things back a little bit, enhance it a little bit. Don't throw everything out there, and then all of a sudden the next year you're like, "Well, I'm stuck now. I can't." There's 2 things you got to look at. You got to look at, no matter if there's a Jordan autograph that comes out in 03 or 04, that's going to be more desirable than the Jordan autograph that comes out in 04 or 05. And even today, the prices reflect that, right? So you have to look at that. There's always a drop off the second year. Second of all, if the rookie class is not as strong, you got an issue. And third of all, adding all this new stuff into a product, there's added costs. So if you throw everything in, the whole entire kitchen sink in, you've already eaten up a lot of cost. So the next year, how can you add more to it? So if a product is successful, you just gradually enhance it a little bit, change it up, enhance it a little bit. And
Add a new
that's what I would look at.
or something like that, right?
Right. And in 05, on 045, when I talk to people today about Exquisite, they're like, man, you added the dual logo man autos. You added the triple logo mans. You added I believe in 045 was the Titleist cards. And they're like, that's the only year that had it. So, there's things that people look in each set to say, hey, I'm trying to track all that.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you privy to how many cases were made of Exquisite at the time?
Of course, I'm the one that put in the number, right? I mean, it was always a discussion. It would be, what sales.
Right.
Now, Exquisite was different because Exquisite was a product that was never on the calendar. So when I presented it, I just said, okay, we're just going to do this many cases. So the first Exquisite, there wasn't that many cases. There wasn't a lot of cases. That's all I'll say.
Right, because you guys didn't know if it was going to work or not, right? So you're not going to make more than you think is going to sell, right?
Right. Look, and the other thing is that we gave it some lead time. So we did give it lead time. And here's the thing about, why, let's say when you start ordering tops as a retailer, when you're ordering tops or as a distributor ordering tops, you're ordering 5 to 6 months in advance. They're trying to get a gauge on the volume to see what they can produce. At Upper Deck or even at Panini now, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks before release date. So the volume is already dictated. It's already decided for you what it's going to be. So at $500 a pack, people are already hesitant. And in fact, in 2003, or actually about February 2004, I was part of a focus meeting with a bunch of stores in New Jersey. It was either New Jersey or New York, but we were in Newark, right? And I got off the plane in Newark and I drove in. And so I don't know if it was in Philly, New Jersey, it's somewhere around there, around the bridge around New York. And a bunch of New Yorkers and New Jersey stores were there. And I got absolutely roasted for Exquisite. I got absolutely roasted. And you can talk to people. I mean, I can mention a few of the names. You might know them now. They're still around. And they were just livid about Exquisite. They're like,
because of the price point?
They say, there's no product that's going to work at $500 a pack. And it also came off of SP Game Patch at $200 a pack, which bombed at the time. And they're like, this is ridiculous. And I go, you don't even have a solicitation. I go, well, in fact, I did. There's one right here. And I showed that one on Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, I'll be showing some of this,
drop your Instagram for everybody.
Okay, so my Instagram is just very simple. It's Karvin, Karvin, V as in Victor or Victory, IN. So Karvin 15. That's my Instagram ID. So nice. Follow me, and I'll see if I can bring up some more stuff to, in regards to Exquisite and also Cup Hockey, which I also created back in 05 or 06 for hockey. So, nice. But either way, I mean,
now Exquisite, did it come out towards the end? Did it come out at the end of 0304, or was it in the middle? Like, what was the month it was being released?
I want to say it came out in July. It came out in July of 2004. It was the last product of the year.
Okay. So we are, so we're already past the rookie season. So his hype was his hype at the beginning of the season, but his hype was even probably stronger at this point, right? Yeah,
his hype wasn't, it's not like today. It's not like basketball cards today. I want to say like his autograph SPX rookie, they were trading like $300-$400. They weren't trading for a lot. At the time, SPA rookies were trading about $800, $900. So SP Authentic rookies. Because I was a Toronto fan. I guess I should have collected LeBron, but I was collecting Chris Bosh at the time. And like my Chris Bosh rookie in SP Authentic, I paid less than $100, $80 for it. Number out of 50. I paid $120 for his Exquisite card. I should have paid $3,000 for a LeBron card.
Now, when you guys
2020.
Right, you're talking about sales. Did you guys watch like the initial secondary market on the LeBron RPAs at the beginning? Were you guys like seeing like, hopefully this is going to sell for X amount of dollars to justify the price of the box? Was that being done on a per product basis?
Yeah, I mean, we, as part of the product development team, we would follow secondary market on eBay, all the sales and what stuff was going for. I mean, LeBron, as soon as Exquisite hit out the gate, it was selling for anywhere from $2,300 to $2,600 cards.
Jeez.
Out of 99. In fact, for a time, the cards out of 23 were actually selling for less than the cards out of 99. because
Interesting.
it was deemed as an insert instead of the true rookie card. People
Mhm.
are chasing the true rookie cards first. So you're going to have the guys at the high end set collectors. They're trying to do a whole set of the set, and they're not interested in the 23. They want the 99.
They want the
That's
99.
the true rookie
Yep.
card. Yeah.
And
So for
that's
a
when
while,
I got
that
back
that
into
was
the
pretty
hobby.
cool.
It was the same thing. I remember with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, people didn't want the number, the 5s, the 10s. They wanted the 99s. So I think you're seeing a little bit different of a market now. It seems like the lower numbers sell for more than the RPAs. But you're right. That's most true collectors. They wanted the true RPA. They didn't care about the colors.
Right. So that's, and for hockey, with some of the high numbers that we saw, like, Crosby was 87, and I think the McDavid out of 97, his rookie number. They actually still sell for less than what the rookie cards go for, even though there's less of them in print, right, or in the run.
So that's crazy. So $2,600 was one of the initial ones, and now those things are at least $500,000. I mean, we're seeing the number to 23. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think about.
The scary part about LeBron was that for the first off season, so in about October, around September, prior to the start of the next season, they actually dropped down to 1,800.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, there's probably somebody that scooped them up at that price. I don't know if they still have them, but it might be somebody that has like 20 or 30 of those things, because they don't surface very often. So you got to think somebody has a good amount of them.
No, I know a few guys that, obviously there's been a big collection that recently hit the marketplace. So I knew that person fairly well back in the day, and I know a few other people that have multiple LeBrons, and they haven't sold them yet. So I think they're holding on to them. They're shocked at what their collection's worth, but
right.
I think a lot of these people are doing okay that they don't need to sell them. So maybe one day it'll surface, right? So.
Right. Yeah, and hopefully their next of kin know what to do with it when that does exchange hands, right?
So, yeah, exactly.
It's crazy that if you go on eBay, I just bought I don't even think it was 0304, but I just bought a John Stockton for one of our latest buybacks, and it was like patch auto, and it was like $500. I wound up paying for it. So I mean, compared to a Panini, patch auto is like $100 to $200. Just that Exquisite name alone, any of those cards, because Exquisite's no longer made, and I just don't think there was as much made compared to some of the high end now. And you're seeing that. You're seeing that the brand is so coveted, and some of the designs are just unparalleled compared to some of the Panini designs that are out there today. So now my next question was. Was Richard McWilliam, the former owner, was he on board? Did he help in contributing to the Exquisite brand, or was it kind of like you guys do your thing?
Yeah, I mean, Richard he knows what's going on. We at the VP at the time that was in charge of product development, he sold it into Richard, and Richard. He sold a bunch of ideas to Richard, which I had presented. Some of the ideas wasn't even Exquisite based. Some of the ideas was just calendar based, and it netted out like millions of dollars of profits for by doing so. So some of the things that he presented to Richard, and Richard ultimately he's a numbers person. I mean he was always I believe he was a CPA when he started, and he was also had a bunch of other businesses. He's in multiple businesses. He has somewhat of a pulse of what's going on. He would have a weekly meeting whenever he was actually in the office, a boardroom meeting with all the executives, and they would just discuss ideas. Ultimately, if everyone had the buy-off and saying, "Hey, we want this product to be brought to life," then Richard would say, "All right, let's just do it and see how it performs." I don't think he was ever against any ideas as long as you have the ability to sell it in. Now, at that time, I had no interaction with Richard outside. The first time I met Richard was when I worked for Grosvenor, and as soon as I started working Upper Deck, I had no interaction with Richard till about 2007 or 2008, and I had a lot of interaction with him then afterwards. But Richard is an interesting person, needless to say. And that I admire what he did for what he did at Upper Deck. I mean, obviously we hear a lot of stories and everything about him, but if there was something about Richard, is that if there's something that he wanted the Upper Deck brand to have in terms of a spokesperson and an athlete, he was always aggressive. So he said that we have to have this person. He was on board with it. So when we discussed about LeBron and was brought to Richard, says just get him. If you guys think he's the guy, just get him. And he was always willing to say, okay, whatever it takes to get that, he was willing to pay it. So, I mean, we paid a heavy price for LeBron, and another time we can talk about the whole negotiation on LeBron. And
that's fascinating as well.
Marco.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, we can talk about that on another show, but that's a pretty in-depth show too about the strategy involved and how we picked our spokespeople at the time when I was at Upper Deck. So.
When did multi-patches come into play? Did the prime patches, was that a thing that just wasn't happening in like 2000, 2001? And did it start happening, or when did that trend kind of start coming into play?
Well, multiple colors was always on patches, especially when you're looking at game used jerseys. I mean, all you have to do is just look at a game used jersey, and you can see where all the multiple color patches come from. So they come from, on basketball, they're a little bit more plentiful because it's on the logos in the front.
Sure, right.
And now a lot of it's all transfer on and different material. But back in the day, you would have the nice logos and the team logos in the front, and in the back the numbers, which is if you had an 88 or a 33, that's the bulk of every patch is the numbers, and numbers are always single color. So,
I don't know why I feel like I didn't see like the old stuff, like you see like the Drew Brees and the Michael Vicks. Like I feel like there was just no prime patches back then. Maybe I just didn't see, maybe those went in collections and that's why I haven't seen them. But I almost feel like they just was all single color back then, but I could be wrong.
There's other colors. Usually what you can get is sometimes you get a 2-color break. And some of the numbers were double layer patches, some of the jersey numbers. So in some cases, some jerseys will have like a red and then a white underneath it, so you can get that. And then later on, we to get away from the single color, because if it's a white on black jersey and there's only one color, then we would ask them to, hey, can you cut part of the jersey with the patch? So
gotcha.
So for the longest of all times, we're just cutting the whole patch and not cutting the edge. And they're like, well, it's kind of going to ruin the card because you may have the card like kind of bulge where the patch is. And I said, no, let's just create a thicker card. And it's like, you're going to have space where the jersey is. And I was like, it's okay, because we wanted to have the 2 colors, right? So, it's because a lot of things changed when I went to Upper Deck. There was things that, one thing of note, like when I went there, I'm not a designer. I'm not a graphic designer saying, hey, design cards like that. We had a team of graphic designers, and they're not sports card people. Their whole purpose is designing the cards. They're graphic designers. So we would say, hey, here's the blank slate. It's 2.5 by 3.5. This is what we want to see. Player's name. We want to see this. We want to see a patch. We want to see an auto. We want to see a full picture of the player, horizontal versus vertical. For me, I'm a big vertical guy. I don't really like a lot of horizontal cards. Now, I know that there's necessity for horizontal cards if you're going to house a lot of stuff. But one thing, so I like vertical cards more than horizontal.
So do I. Yeah, me too.
But then I'd rather have a horizontal card if, in many years at Upper Deck, they started signing upwards, and I hated that. So having a vertical card, having an autograph signing on a vertical card sideways, I hated that. But once again, you're dealing with an artist, right? These graphic designers are artists. To tell them that they're making a mistake, you gotta be careful. Right. I made the mistake in the beginning, saying, "Hey, I'm the card guy. I know what card collectors like." Like, no, we know that you're wrong. It's not hard to argue that. So you gotta,
the philosophy is that you're looking at it like the ink, and they're looking at it from the art. That's probably always going to be like a headbutting type of thing. So,
so this is always a conflict.
Sure. Let's go ahead and move on to Panini now. So you had a big hand in creating Immaculate, which was 12-13, which was the double rookie class. Did you pull? I mean, you could see a lot of similarities between Exquisite and Immaculate. Did you pull from some of that proven data to help make Immaculate?
Yeah, of course. Immaculate was out of time at Panini, I really just spent most of my effort on one set to create, and Immaculate was the one set that I created. And a lot of the ideas, so the first idea was actually an idea taken not from Exquisite. So a lot of people will see that the acetate cards, and for a long time, acetate cards people like to see through acetate. And for many years, I would say, hey, I want to do the see-through acetate, and I wanted to do a see-through acetate with a patch and auto. And there was a subset called rookie autograph patches, and a set called Trilogy Basketball. So it's Trilogy Basketball, and I got into a huge argument with the designer there. So there's a lot of times where designers were right and I was wrong. I want to see a see-through patch, right? I want to see a see-through card, a thick card, but it was based on acetate. It would kind of be see-through, and I want to see a patch and an autograph. And the guy came back and says, no, I'm going to make it black and white. And and I have the original cards. I have 2 cards that I still own, which I went out and bought because I like the design so much. And I actually showed it to the designers that Panini, this is what I wanted to create for Immaculate. And that's why it's called Immaculate, because it's using the acetate on color. So it's acetate on white and black, and it was called Rookie Autograph Patches out of 10 in Trilogy. So I took that idea, and then that's where the whole Immaculate idea came from. It's going to be called Immaculate. It's going to be autographed with the autograph, not on the rookie cards, but the rookie card Immaculate number set, the variations of the rookie card number, the jersey number, those were all in that acetate, right? And
I think they still continue to be this day, right? I mean, I think all the number to their number ones, like the number to 23 Anthony Davis and stuff like that. Now the premium patch autographs that came out of Immaculate, that was kind of a play.
On limited logos, yes.
Limited logos, I was just going to say, but which I think is one of the most underrated iconic cards of the time, because you always would get like the chunky patches, right? And they just look amazing.
Yeah, and those some of the ideas were there. Like obviously the Immaculate numbers were based on like the rookie numbers and Exquisite, right? Number to jersey number, but just the gold parallel. In this case, it was a completely different variation. It went from vertical to horizontal with the acetate. So it was I love the look of those Immaculate numbers. I mean, if there's something I would collect, it's probably that. And then we tried to do a complete set of Immaculate patches of the base set, number to jersey number as well. So with the exception of certain players, like I think George Michael's number to 99, we only did 9 for him. And then Wilt Chamberlain, I can't remember what Wilt Chamberlain's number is, but he was only numbered to 10. Just we didn't have that many patches. So we, the base cards, some of those base cards are really nice. But it's number to 3, number to 2. I believe Chris Paul's number to 3. So those were done in the Immaculate acetate format, and so was something called the Immaculate Standard, which was just a base jersey, a big swatch of jersey, but it was all in that acetate. So trying to deliver, one color jerseys that people call Band-Aids or diapers or whatever you want to call
napkins, I think they call them now.
Napkins,
slang.
Napkins, but at least design it in a way that the card's nice, right? Ultimately, it's the aesthetics of the card. If you like the look of the card, you're going to collect it.
Exactly.
And that's why I don't like, when I see Cameron Reddish's autograph, I'm like, I don't think I can ever collect his RPA just because of the autograph. Back in the day, there was a player by the name of Lawrence Moroney. He just did a check mark, and I was like, I can never collect that guy.
Or Varen Morency, I think.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's close though. Yeah.
Varen Morency,
they both were running backs too, so I could see how you made that. Yeah, he's one of the Hall of Fames for loser signatures that we always talk about. But I wish these guys would look at that and be like, man, is that how I want to represent myself? But I know how it is when you're a young man. You're probably not even, hey, who cares? Just get through it. But you're right. It really takes a toll on your eyes, and I think the more collectible guys have autos that look good. You know what I mean? Zion's isn't amazing, but there's a lot to it. It's kind of pivotal. So which is actually kind of pivots me into this last little topic that I wanted to talk about. In your wildest dreams, could you even fathom the way the basketball's hobby current landscape is?
No, there's no way. I mean, back in the day when the early 90s, which was the big heyday, and I was part of that, just being a dealer or setting up at flea markets and all that, or shows, we saw some of the tendencies the same, but not to the point where everything's $1,000 card these days or $2,000 card. Now maybe it's just that people have more disposable income. Back in the day, I seen some some trends like Jose Canseco was the big rookie back in '89. His 86 rated rookie card was $100 odd $120 US. And his second year card would go for $50, $60. And in my mind, I was thinking, if you're going to collect, wouldn't you just want to collect this rookie card? That's ultimately the card. Now,
Right.
if it's out of your range, then maybe you go for a second-year card. And maybe that's the case now where, Luka Doncic, Prism rookie is way too high, so I'll collect the second year to at least start that collection going and start collecting that player. But I mean, no, I never imagined it. And we never saw it with LeBron. So we never saw it with any of the years that I was working at Upper Deck. I wish I saw this because I know how much struggle we had to try to deliver content back in the day. And, even Exquisite, when Exquisite was trading at $500 and it went up to $600 SRP, we knew that it was selling for anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, and everyone just would complain, $1,000 to $1,500. What's my return here?
Right.
If I don't hit the big rookies. And I was like, well, we're only creating the product for this much SRP, right? It's kind of hard to say, we're gonna add more content into it at this other, elevated SRP. We just can't do that. We're not building products that way. So otherwise we'd be losing money on every box we create if we was creating that kind of content. So now you
have cases that are $16,000 to $17,000 for the so it's crazy.
Right. It's craziness and all this during a whole pandemic and the whole sports world is all paused. So I mean, I do have some theories why possibly there's more people going into the business now or coming into the business and speculating on trading cards during this time of pandemic. But I mean, who knows? I mean, if you told me this is going to happen 2 years ago or even 3 months ago, I would say there's no way, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, and I think you're right about, and I think we've talked about this before, is it almost seems like everybody's frozen in time to a sense where you don't know if John Morant's going to be a bust now. And then you're even getting people that can't afford John Morant or Zion, and they're starting to buy Rui, or they're starting to buy Kyle Guy, or they're starting to buy, there's just like a ladder now. You know what I mean? And it's just like a lot of these guys probably would be, shooting 20%, 30%, and nobody would be buying them. But because the time is just frozen, I think you're starting to see a lot more speculation, a lot more hype building on these guys, which is just crazy. Now, do you see any similarities between 03 and 04 and the current 1920 season of cards?
We see that, there's definitely an interest in the Group A rookies. I mean, LeBron, it's obviously like Zion.
Yep.
We saw, a bunch of people collecting Carmelo, D Wade. I'm sure over time, you're going to say, hey, there's people collecting autograph patches, but even the Jordan base card was going at the time when it first came out for about $150. So, that was the first Exquisite card. Now they're what, $8,000 now or $6,000 now for those cards.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things that people are pulling from Exquisite or from maybe Topps Chrome and saying, hey, look at the data here. That's 20 years old or 25 years old. And, maybe this applies to all the newer sets like the Prisms or the Chrome Baseball or the Bowman cards. And people are now speculating like, historical data has proven this to be possibly we would repeat this, right? So that possibly is coming into play. I think there's also the fact that with the globalization of all our economies and trading cards is one of them. Also having, all these social media people talking about it, people on YouTube talking about videos, investing into base cards. That only adds to more and more viewers and more people coming into the market. So
coming into the market, and everybody has time. They're at home and they can look at that stuff. Now, let's just say hypothetically there was still Exquisite around, and we were in 1920, and there was still Exquisite, and there was obviously NT. So NT, last time I checked, and the market changes, and this is what people are going to pay. So this is in parentheses, but a Zion True RPA, which is the vertical number to 99, is around 70,000. Let's just say that there was Exquisite competing against it. Do you think because there would be two options that they may be worth half as much, or do you think they would be both worth about the same amount?
That's so hard to say because right now, when you look at where the market is today, there hasn't been an Upper Deck product for basketball for 10 years. So anyone that's new to the hobby now, they don't know Topps Chrome.
They don't remember
basketball.
it. Yeah.
Well, they remember it, but they don't know it as of the last 10 years. Right now, Prism is overtaking that. NT is overtaking Exquisite in terms of the brand to collect. So let's not even say, let's say basketball, because basketball is, I think it's a bad example because of how exquisite basketball. But let's say you took football with football, or NT baseball with, let's say, not a 5-star, a Diamond Icons, or
Yeah,
a
definitive or something.
baseball, right? So I'm not sure Exquisite will perform better than those brands, because, for the people that have collected definitive, people who collected NT, I have, 50 NT rookies, or I have 100 NT rookies that I've collected over the year. Why would I buy Exquisite now? You guys have been away from the game for so long. Now, obviously, that Exquisite brand name, because of the recent sales, the secondary market, it's come into light, and everyone sees that name and they know it. But realistically, it's patterns, right? So let's say if you look at other products, let's say you're talking about cars, you're talking about luxury goods, you can talk about like Adidas, or even sneakers. Adidas was the brand name forever, right? And Nike took over. Well, after all these young people and all wearing Nikes and all that, are they ever going to switch to Adidas? Because Adidas have the more expensive shoes back in the 50s or 60s or 70s, right? I mean, we saw a resurgence with Adidas, like let's say the Stan Smith shoes, but then people just go back to the Nike, all the new designs and new trends. We see spikes in different apparel companies. Like Adidas had let's say their Superstar / Stan Smith, and then Adidas also has their what do you call it, the NMDs? Was that NMDs, right? Or the
Yeezys, I guess, right? With Kanye West
and the Ultra Boost, right? They have the Ultra Boost line now, but Nike still rules the shoes, right? We have Puma with was it Rihanna has her own line, and their celebrity line. Puma has their line, and but Nike still rules, right?
And I know they make Exquisite for hockey, and I know some of the designs keep getting rehashed. They do the 03, 04 tributes every year, but like I feel like it's more iconic because it's not made anymore, right? So it's like, because people are, it's discontinued. I don't want to say discontinued, but lack of a better word there. I think people tend to be like, that's that they don't make that anymore, so that's cool. You know what I mean? That adds to the cool factor in a sense, right? So
that's always the case. I mean, people want what they can't have, right? So that's
exactly
that's one of the things about Exquisite. Trust me, when Exquisite was out there, everyone was talking about Exquisite. They're like, oh, but you should do this, and why can't you use game used jerseys for everything? And there's all kinds of reasoning why Exquisite was not the best brand, when it, even at that time it was, but even then people would still complain about Exquisite. It's just that Upper Deck's been out of the business for 10 years, and the memories all become very fond and very good now. But back in the day, trust me, we took a lot of heat for a lot of the stuff that we did, so it wasn't as favorable as everyone thinks it is right now. So
well, my last question, I know it's getting late. We're both on the West Coast. I mean, it's late for us dads over here. So my last question is what kind of ideas do you have that would continue to push the envelope for the current marketplace?
I mean, in terms of ideas for, trading cards, sets, and all that, I mean, there'll be, I mean, I don't really want to disclose all those ideas. Just, when the time comes, maybe, when your
card company comes out, we'll see those ideas put into play, right?
Right. Whether they come out or not come out, we'll see. I mean,
maybe we should retool that. What ideas have you seen lately that you like that these companies are putting out, whether it be Panini or Topps?
Let me see here. I'm just trying to think here. No, why don't I do this? Why don't I say, all right, what are some ideas? What are some of the craziest ideas that you've done in the past?
There you go. I like that.
And yeah, so let's put that.
Let's do that one.
Okay.
What are some of your craziest ideas that you've had?
Okay, so some of the craziest ideas I had, before leaving, the trading card company business, creating trading cards. Number one, there was a product at Upper Deck. It was called Champs Hockey. And I was really proud of this set because, a little bit similar to Allen and Ginter doing tobacco cards, and
it had the fish on the cover, right?
I'm not sure if it was the fish. I thought it was a dinosaur. It was a dinosaur.
Maybe there was. I thought there was one year that had a fish. He may have been gone. I swear to God, I see. But maybe that's what I remember.
So one of the things about Champs Hockey that I was trying to emulate, and it had a lot to do with my little nephew. At the time, when he was like 4 or 5, he was heavily into dinosaurs. So I was like, well, Champs is really tobacco card, regular size card. I wanted to make sure that it was like a family experience. And I think Goodwin Champions has taken over Champs and with those ideas, and I think Upper Deck has done a lot more with those ideas than it was done in Champs.
Mm-hmm.
But my little nephew was crazy about dinosaurs. He was 4 years old. He was rhyming off all these dinosaur names that I didn't know. So I made a little subset in there that was all dinosaur based. And as part of it, and I believe that there was a redemption for a card, but we went out and bought dinosaur bones or dinosaur
nice
like fossilized species.
Oh wow.
And so when people can say you actually got crap out of your box, we actually got crap out of the box. But we actually created cards with dinosaur teeth. We had dinosaur bones. We had fossilized species. We had early man artifacts. So we had all kinds of stuff in Champs at the time. And then on top of it, the one card that I actually wanted to buy the redemption, we actually created an oversized card that housed the T-Rex tooth. So it was a whole entire T-Rex tooth in there. Yeah. So because we're thinking of how to cut it, and we're talking to people that cut fossils, and they're like, "This is going to cost this much." I was like, "It's so expensive. Let's do a redemption card for the one entire tooth." So
does somebody have that somewhere? Have you seen that being pulled? Or
last that I heard of, it was still at Upper Deck. I don't know if it still is or not. I mean, that's probably like 7-8 years ago. I mean, I want to buy that redemption because it's something that there's a lot of stuff that I worked on that I wish I owned, but
sure,
that was one of the cards. One of the craziest ideas that I had that I never did, and for Champs, and maybe someone could do it. I know that Topps did one with the Sea Monkeys. They did the Sea Monkey cards in Goodwin Champions. So here's an idea that I can give out to people. One of the ideas was to create a living card. That's what I wanted to do. And it was basically having a seed encased in the card, like a rip card or a what do you call it? I can't remember the name of it, showcase card or whatever, the case, the cards. So you would see the seed, and you would actually add water to the seed, and the plant would sprout and grow, and it would grow out of the card.
Well, Topps stole your idea on that one. They had it in Ginter, I believe, but it wasn't encased. It was just seeds like embedded into a card, right. In a mini card. And it was like plants from around the world. So, but I think that was like in 2011, 2012. They didn't have anything, they didn't there was no like pizzazz to it though. Like you even had
I wanted this one where the whole plant can grow out of it. So you can actually grow. So the card itself would be just like, when you're going out to buy the living
like the
lettuce,
planter.
The butter lettuce that has the roots in it. So I wanted so it'd be an encased card with a seed with soil. So if you added water to that card, that plant would grow out a card.
That'd be pretty sweet. I like
so
that idea.
So it's called a living card. It would be called the only living card. So it'd be the first of its kind. So
nice.
If a card company hears your podcast and hears the hype and thinks of that idea, it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Obviously, there's other things that we talked about, like putting like snake venom into a card, and the liability of that.
Well, they started. I think you were already gone at that point, but didn't they start making those spider cards and stuff, or is it a different? I don't even know if they were.
It was bug cards, right? That's what everyone's calling it, the butterfly cards and all that. That was
wasn't it arachnid or something like that, or I forget what the name of the subset was called.
I'm not sure about the arachnids. I know the first set of Goodwin Champions had redemptions were full bug cards, so they were actually, butterflies inside a card, oversized card. So the Goodwin Champions, that was like, it was famous for that. Everyone. It was funny going to distributor meetings. It was like, yeah, man, I love those bug cards that you guys created in Goodwin Champions. I was like,
well, they were really artsy, because I think I remember one of my first summits. I think they were on display, and I was looking at them, and they were just really nice looking cards. There was wasn't just a bug in a card. It was like the artwork around it and stuff. It was just really nice looking.
Yeah, I think some of the ideas, and kudos to Grant at Upper Deck. I mean, he had some, moon rocks. He brought those to life. He wanted to do Civil War type stuff, and it was outlandish and crazy, but it was all along the whole heritage of Goodwin Champions, because it was Goodwin Champions, like similar to Allen Ginter. It was a cross sectional look at everything in terms of the American pop culture, or back then American history, And I think he did a really good job in some of the, trying to get back to that lineage of that brand. And I think that's important when we look at brands and when you're bringing something new to the customer, the experience. Like when Champs was doing it, I was wanting, a set collector set with kids being involved, and since my nephew was big into animals or with dinosaurs, so we did extinct endangered animals and dinosaurs as part of the subset. So because I know that a lot of women, some of their animals they like are the endangered animals, so it would be a whole family unit that would be collecting the Champs cards. And it was funny because I was walking around a show and the guy's going, "This Champ stuff is junk," and I'm like, "Okay, so tell me why it's junk." He goes, "The autographs, you don't get much value and all that." And I go, "Well, do you have a stack of dinosaur cards there?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You have a stack of endangered animal cards there?" He goes, "Yeah." Well, people are trying to put sets. I get like $3-4 a card. I'm like, "Well, don't you get like 12 of those in a box or 20 of those in a box?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, that's value."
Yeah, exactly.
That at the time I said, "That's value then." And then, of course, on Goodwin Champions, those patch cards that they do with the extinct animals and mythological animals, they're going for, a lot of money. So, kudos to, like I said, Upper Deck doing the patch.
Yeah, we look forward to that one every year. I think it's coming out in about a month now, but we look forward to that. They always do some fun, stuff with that. And I think they're going to have some Jordan Stadium relics, I think, this year, number to 23 or something, which will be pretty cool. And
that's nice.
Yeah, so and then their usual stuff, and it looks like LeBron's back in with some signed shoe cards, which will probably be even bigger this year with the hype of everything going on. So But well, that pretty much sums it up, man. We could probably talk all day with all the knowledge you have. I mean, we got to do like a couple different parts of this and bring you back on. I mean, this was an amazing show with all the knowledge you dropped on us today. So once again, everybody, you can follow him on Instagram at Karvin15, Karvin 15 on Instagram. So check it out. We appreciate you, Karvin. Thanks again for stopping by, and we look forward to having you back on, man.
Well, thank you for having me, and let's do this again. And if there's any questions out there, maybe we can answer on a live stream next time, or if I'm in your shop. So
absolutely,
right.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
And that's it. Thanks for watching this episode. Visit Mojobreak.com for more info and your break spot. And we will see you next time on